both, and I don't have to put one group on hold while I'm typing the other. So hello everyone, welcome on YouTube, welcome on um, Instagram as well. I hope you all had a great weekend. I hope this sun, it keeps going in and out. Maybe I bring out the sunshine because it was just in. So I hope it is not getting too distorted. Um, but I want to go ahead and get started. I don't want to hold y'all really long, but I always tell you that when you have a question or if it's something you want to know, make sure you reach out to me either on DM. You can email me at Anna at Southern Entertaining. But we had a really good question today. We're going to go over a little bit of housekeeping, but the question was, I am new to gardening and what all gardening tools do I need? And we'll get into it because you have to dig a little bit deeper when it comes to gardening tools. So, first, if you know someone who's new to gardening, if you know someone who's thinking about gardening, have talked to you about gardening, make sure you like and share. Share this information. We are teaching beginner gardeners to stop imagining about a garden that they wish they had and to go ahead and let's grow one. We're going to grow one together and we're just going to help each other through this gardening journey. I think growing is such a good skill to have. And so I just want to teach everybody, like, download everything up here in my brain and just communicate it out to you. If you want to know when we're going live, make sure you text Let's Grow, LETSGROW, to 474747. Text Let's Grow to 474747. Yes, we are going to grow and we're going to have a great gardening season. And that way, we'll notify you every time that we go live, every time that we have specials, every time that we have giveaways, and just gardening information that we want to share. So make sure you get on the text list because I know most of us keep our phones on us all the time, but we may not necessarily check our email as often as our phone. So if you want to be notified by text Let's Grow to 474747. If you're new to gardening, make sure you download the free ebook, 5 Tips to a Flourishing Garden. I call this the basic training of gardening. This is going to get you on track to what you need to do to grow. It's totally free, and on IG, just click on the link in our bio and download your free ebook. And then on YouTube, after the video has rendered, we'll make sure that we put the link so that you can get your free ebook. And if you want to know how to expand your seed to grow more things besides what's at the garden center, and you want to know when to start seeds for your area, for your particular zip code, make sure that you go check out the Seed Starting Masterclass. This is going to answer a lot of questions. So just because I may be starting my basil now, it may not be time. We have a lot of our northern gardener friends that are still getting snow. So now it's not the time for them. But if you want to know for your particular zone, your particular zip code, make sure you pick up the Seed Starting Master Class. So let's go ahead and get in it. Thank you, everyone on YouTube and IG for joining us today. So if you just started, we got a question. What gardening tools do I need? I'm a beginner and I want to know what tools do I need. So it's not a trick question, but it's a question that needs to go a little bit more in depth because the garden tools that I may have may not be the garden tools that you may need. Now, what I will tell y'all, okay, take it from me. You know, a lot of these things come from experience. Get you some gardening gloves. Get you some gardening gloves that are kind of like you can feel. Now, I used to love to get my hands in the soil and just feel the soil and do all of my gardening things until I got bit by a spider, okay? I didn't know if the spider was poisonous or not, but I say, you know what? You got to start putting on gloves. So I would definitely say get you some gloves and get the kind that is pretty much like second nature to your skin. Like you could still feel everything. Like you can't you have some gloves that are really thick and you can't feel anything. And I think that's where people don't like to wear gloves because you can get some that are thick and when they get wet, they just, So get the ones that are thin but still add that protection. So that's one garden tool that I definitely encourage you. You don't want to get bit by a spider and then you don't know if it's poisonous or not. Thankfully, it was not poisonous, but from that, though, this was years ago. But from that point on, now sometimes with the containers right here on the patio, I may, if I see a weed growing, I may just use my hands. But for the most part, when I'm out in the garden, I will definitely use garden gloves. So this is the kicker right here. They have a lot of gardening toolkits, and a lot of people go out and buy all this stuff. And the reason why I say you have to dig a little bit deeper because you have to ask yourself first, and it all goes back to garden planning. Where am I going to grow? Okay, where am I going to grow? What am I going to grow? And what am I going to grow it in? So let me just give you a quick example. If you stay in like an apartment or a townhouse and you have a patio, you are going to probably be growing in grow bags or growing in containers or growing in like the wood raised patio container. So you won't need things like a shovel. You won't need things like a garden hoe. You won't need things that if you were gardening in a raised bed or soil, or your native soil, you would need all of that because you're just literally going to grow in some containers. Now, depending on how deep the containers are and what all you have, you may need something just as simple as this, like a little garden spade that, just if you have a big container, you can move that soil out of the way, plant your plants, and put it back with your gloves on, okay? With your gloves on. So you may need something like this, and also depending on how many containers that you have on your patio, you may just need a simple watering can, or you may can go in the house and use something out of the kitchen to fill the water up and water your stuff. So it just depends on what you have, how much you have of it. If you have a few containers, I'll show y'all real quick. This is like one of my favorites right here. Hold on just a second. Okay, so I use this watering can like for all of my patio containers that we have. Like this you may need something about this big and that's all you need. Just a watering can, some gloves, and this little garden spade. So it depends on where you're gardening, what you're gardening in, and how you're going to garden. Now, somebody that has a raised bed, like maybe a 4x4 raised bed, you may need a little bit more. You may want a shovel, maybe not. It just depends. We continue to expand, and so we use our shovel quite a bit, not only for the garden but for other things that we do around the home. So you may think that you need a shovel, and that's totally fine. Now, one thing I encourage, whether you do garden on your patio or in raised beds or native soil, get you some good snips. They have the little small kind, and get you some pruners. And those are like the handheld pruners. And the reason why I say that is the little snips, they're not hard on your hand. Some snips you can use that muscle so much that your that your hand, that muscle starts to get a little bit fatigued. So get you some snips. If you're growing herbs, you could take those little snips and snip the plant and go in and use your herbs. They're also good for deadheading, which is once the plant has flowered, you want to get the dead flower off to encourage with annuals to encourage it not to go to seed and continue to produce beautiful flowers all season long. So those little snips are good for that. They're also good for just little things around the garden. Even if you're doing container gardening or raised beds, whatever, they're good to have around. Like if you just want to snip some little things on a flower or clean up a flower. You know, sometimes you can have a flower that kind of gets brown a little bit. So you can use those snips to do that. Now, the handheld pruners, the smaller ones, I love using those when I am getting ready to cut like the rose stems. The snips are not quite strong enough for that, so I use the little handheld pruners to go in and just snip off tomatoes when we have it, or my roses when we have it. And they're also good for like thicker plants that have that thicker branch, where the snips are not quite strong enough to do that. So I do encourage you to get you, so far, make sure you always do gloves, and then get you some little snips, and then get you some pruners. But the other ones are, it's all depending on what you want to do. For example, you may not need a water hose, but with me, all over the garden, I feel like I do need a water hose because I'm constantly pulling the water hose, going to different parts and watering. Or you may just say, I'm just going to do drip irrigation. I don't want a water I don't want a water hose. So that's why I say it goes back to garden planning. What are you going to plant? Where are you going to plant it at? How big is it going to be? So you don't have to run out, because gardening is exciting. Like, I get excited all the time. Sometimes I'll just go to the garden center and look at all the new stuff they have. They have so many garden tools, and the garden tools are supposed to make your life easier. Like the garden hoe, that's supposed to, help you with weeding. Just if you have raised beds or in ground, help you a little bit better with weeding. So they have all type of stuff like hoary knives if you want to divide your perennials and share some with people. So think about what you're planting. First, think about what you're planting. What are you planting them in? Where are you planting them? How much are you going to plant? Because that's going to help you figure out what tools you need. So y'all know, when I got the question, I had to go back and I had to ask all of these questions and say, how are you going to plant it? Where are you going to plant it? What are you going to plant? How much are you going to plant? Because that will help you determine what all gardening tools that you are going to need when it comes to gardening. You don't have to go and get every tool in the garden center. Like, they just have them lined up and they look good. You're like, oh yeah, I think I need that. That'll help me with this. But I don't know about y'all, and y'all comment below. There are certain garden tools that are my go-to, and I want to share this with y'all because I have bought some garden tools that I don't even use. Or if I bought garden tools, when I got them home, I didn't like it. I'm like, you know what, it'll be faster if I just do it myself by hand or something like that. So I have to think about you have to think about things like that too, because you want to be efficient in the garden, but you don't want to go and spend all of this money just because you see it, or you may see a commercial. Because I'm telling you, some of these commercials make stuff look like, oh, I need that. I need that. So I'm going to go through some of the questions. Thank you all so much for joining us today. But I just really wanted to share that with y'all before, if you're new, or before you start going to buy a whole bunch of garden tools. You really have to think about what you're growing it in. Did y'all see that bee? What you're growing it in, and just make everything easy for you. The tools are here to make our lives a little bit easier so that we don't have to struggle and do all of this unnecessary stuff and get like frustrated with weeds, okay? And get frustrated pulling weeds. If I just look today and I'm like, if I can get my plants to grow as fast as these weeds, then I will have a beautiful lush garden. But I do have, a lot of times with weeds, A lot of times I will use my hands, okay, because I like to make sure that when I'm pulling the weeds, I pull them up from the root. You still can do that with a hoe, just depending on the area that you're working with. And then I also have it's called a weeder, but you just kind of, if you do it and have a system in place and do it like on a weekly basis, basically it's like a little sharp piece about this big right here, but you're just going over the soil and it cuts the weed off. You have to make sure you keep it sharp, but it just cuts the weed off at the head so that it can die back. And it's good. I use that sometimes too, but just depending on what I'm doing, I just use my hands and just make sure I pull those weeds up really, really good here. So I know I missed some of the live chats that were coming up. Hello, Maureen. Hello, Jen. Hello, Devin. And hello, Yankee Sister. Thank you for joining us today. I hope y'all see how the sun is going in and out. And I can't see on IG because it's like I don't know what just happened. And I hope y'all can still see me here on IG. I really do. I got to stop pressing stuff because that's what I just did. I just pressed something. But welcome. Feathered Sunsets, how are you? Urban, Good, and Green, how are you? Queen Bee, Grow Oya. Love their, I'm loving Grow Oya's, their container, the vessel, the water vessel that we ordered and potted up in our a patio garden with the marjoram and the thyme and calendula and tomatoes. If you haven't seen that video, go watch it on YouTube. We use the Grow Oya and it really is saving me a bunch of time. I've only had to fill up the vessel just one time since we planted it, but the plants are doing good and getting stronger every day. Every day. I don't know why I can't see all of the names on IG, but welcome, y'all. Welcome. So I just want to wrap it up. I told y'all I won't keep you long, but I thought that was a really good question. And again, if y'all have questions, make sure you let me know because you're not the only ones who have that question. A lot of people probably have the same question, but they just haven't sent their question to me. So make sure you send your questions to me, and we're just going to recap. Now, the essential garden tools, I think, no matter what type of garden you're doing, whether container gardening, raised beds, native soil, have you some gloves where you can still feel, not so thick that you can't feel anything and you just get frustrated. Because that's how I used to get gloves that were just, it just didn't feel like second nature to me. But the gloves I have now, they are, they're thin enough, and then like they're kind of like water resistance on the hand side, you know, where the soil just doesn't like soak it, where like the water doesn't soak it up and make your whole hand wet, and just like, you know, where the water kind of slides off. So you definitely need some good gloves. You also get a little small hand snip, the Snippers. They're the little small ones. Those are good for if you're growing herbs, you can come and snip your herb without the blade of the snip like really getting in the way. It lets you get in little small places. So I use those like for all of my herbs. I use them to deadhead when I am making sure I'm keeping my annuals to flower, encourage them to keep flowering. And then I also think that you should get a good pair of hand pruners for those thicker branches, like when we cut our roses and the stems are a little bit thicker, they'll go through that so well. And then just like different flowers and things like that, we use it for to make flower arrangements. So those three I think everyone should have those in there. Now again, depending on where you're gardening at, you may not need a hose. You may need a watering can no bigger than this. Or they also have, like, if you have a lot that you're growing on your patio, maybe you get the 2-gallon watering can and you don't need a hose. But for someone who maybe has raised beds, you may need a hose, or you may need some drip irrigation going on. If you're doing a patio, you don't need things like shovels and the garden hose, because you're just doing it in containers. But if you have raised beds, you may feel that you need that. You may feel that you need a rake. We have several leaves that fall in the garden pathways that we rake up. So think about, let's go back to like Garden 101. And that's a great reason for you to get the free ebook as well, because it goes back to where are you growing, what are you growing, how much are you going to grow, and what are you going to grow it in. And that will help you determine what garden tools you need. So you don't have to go to the garden center and say, I need this, I think I need that, I think I might need this, and I think I might need that. You, before you even go, you should already have all of this stuff planned out so that you know what you need. You need the gloves, you need the snips, you need the pruners, but you may only need a watering can, and that's it. That's all you need. You don't need anything else. So I hope this was helpful for you all. I did see a message pop up. I hope this was really helpful, and hope it saves you like some money, because I saw and I saw a kit. It was like it was a gardening accessory tool kit, and I think they had like 82 pieces. And I looked and I'm like, I don't even think I need all of that. It was just like, and again, there's some things you think you need, or you might see a commercial, and when you get it, you just don't like it, or you feel like it slows you down, or you're like, I'll do better with my hands, and you don't even use it. So I thought that was something too. Like, we may be saying, I'm about to start gardening. Let me just get this whole kit, and then half of the time you don't use half of the things on there. Um, Hello, Betty from Texas. I hope the weather is good for you today. Yankee sister, hold on. I saw, I love the rake that I have because it adjusts. Yes, I have that. I think I know what you're talking about. It's like the metal rake. And if you're getting in little tight spaces, like say for instance, you have a garden bed and you need to get in tight spaces, there is a rake that you can adjust that gets like really narrow, and you can get in those spaces versus like the thick rake that we're used to. And see, that's a good point too. I'd like that rake too, because I do have garden beds and I can't quite reach, or I don't feel like going way back there, so I use that and I make it narrow, and you can go in and uh, do what you need to do, get the leaves out and stuff like that. It's beautiful. And see, another thing again that will be helpful, because you already know what you are planning. You're doing like a garden bed, for example. Um, let's see here. And then we are going to wrap it up, because I don't think the sun. Now, watch y'all. When I get off live, I guarantee you the sun is going to go back to YouTube. Come on now. Don't do me like that. I think we're still live, y'all. I hope so. Yep. Okay. I saw where you said buffering. I hope I'm back. Yes, the little snippers are great. Okay, you got yours from the Dollar Tree. I love them. I use them. They're so useful. They're so useful. And then also, yeah, the metal rake. So that is a good tool to have also. So again, y'all, thank you so much for joining me on this beautiful Monday where the sun is shining. We have some very hot temperatures coming up this week. I think in the low 90s is where we're at. I have a couple of pepper plants that are very upset with me because they want to know why I have some of the tomatoes in the ground and I have yet to plant most of my peppers. I think they're feeling some type of way because, they want to get in the ground and grow too. I just told them, give me a few more days and we are going to make it happen. So we got some things we have to plant, but I'm telling y'all, we got some videos coming up. So if you're not subscribed to us on YouTube, make sure you do. I try to take the time to video everything so that we can again go on this gardening journey together. So we got a lot to get done and a lot to get planted. So y'all enjoy yourself. I hope you have a beautiful week. Remember, we go live on IG and Instagram on Mondays at 12 noon, and then also on Fridays at 6 p.m. We go live on IG and Instagram, and all of those are in Standard Eastern Standard Time. Yes, Yankee sister, they were. I think they were getting upset. But I'm going to clear out one of the 4x4 raised beds that's on my. I sat down this morning and I wrote down things that I need to get accomplished in the garden this week, and that was one of them. So I'm going to clear out the bed and get some of the peppers planted because I really am ready for them. And so, yeah, I will leave y'all with that. If you have questions, reach out to me either on DM, email me, Anna at Southern Entertaining. And before you go out and buy a whole bunch of tools, just sit down for a minute and really think about what you are planting, and that's going to help you decide what you need before you go to the garden center. So you all take care, enjoy yourself, and we'll talk again soon. Bye, y'all.